lady has finally took its toll. And it's been so long, but I'm finally home and what better place to rest my weary bones than on this beautiful island where there's so much to see. Every corner I turn, there's something there to remind me of my beautiful nation and what it means to me. Not a thing out of place, that's what's special about it. And do you hear? It's the songs the birds are singing. Do you hear? It's a sound that's everlasting, and there's no end in sight, just the beginning of our lives. Sweet Grenada, this is home. Yes, and do you hear? It's the songs the birds are singing. Do you hear? It's a sound that's everlasting, and there's no end in sight, just the beginning of our lives. Sweet Grenada, this is home, home, home. Sweet Grenada, yeah, this is home.
Alrighty, good day, good night, whatever time of the day is in your area. Hello to you from Grenada, the spice island of the Caribbean. My name is Mikey Hutchinson, and here we are live with Mikey Live. This is what we call news discussed, not told. We tell you what's happening in Grenada primarily and the region. Now, folks, there are a lot of things that we need to tell you about. Before we do that, housekeeping matters. We ask of you to share the program. You hit the share button on your screen, and so that you can share with your followers and with your friends on Facebook. That's particularly for the Facebook viewers, all right, folks? So go ahead and share the program. Also, we want to welcome those of you who are viewing via cable TV. We are talking about WPG10 channels, 10 standard definition and 11 high definition. Happy am I to be back with you for another day to tell you what's making the news. So let's see. In the headlines, man charged with rape of his wife. It's creating a lot of discussion, a lot of buzz. And we have spoken to the lawyer to explain this to us, okay? So we will have that for you. Rape continues to be a concern here in Grenada. Government announces secondary school games to replace the intercall in 2019. And the Grenada Bar Association responds to government's announcement of having a building for 4 of its courts. Also, we heard from the Technical and Allied Workers Union. We'll share that with you in a moment. Government identifies new home for law courts. And no charges for Chris Brown after arrest over rape allegations. That and more we will tell you about tonight on Mikey Live. Folks, it is news discussed, not told. Here on the program, you get the good, the bad, and the Mikey. Brace yourself, people. When we come back, it's real news in Olia Lili Lolo. We want to remind you that the headlines is brought to you through the kind compliments of Duty Free Caribbean and Colombian Emeralds International and WPG10. When we come back, yes, you know, it's real news in your Lily Lolo. Share the program. We will be back.
And so it begins, a journey like no other. Jungles so lush, they make emeralds jealous. Water that sparkles like diamonds. Mountains with more facets than precious gems. This is where good times are had, where love is strengthened, where memories are formed. And when it all comes to an end, bring home something that will never fade. Colombian Emeralds International. Bring home more than a memory.
It's a new year, so how about a new look? At Quartz Optical, we have the latest brand names and styles. Plus, get 20% off credit on 12 to 24 months. Instant credit approval while you are being tested. Get 15% off cash, so you can get that new frame to go into the new year. Only at Quartz Optical, the largest, fastest growing optical chain in the Caribbean. Special conditions apply.
Colors promotion together with Carib present National Colors Fest. Everybody safe, girls lighting up, keep up. National Colors Fest. Wednesday, February 6th, the night before the holiday. Moonlight City. We deck off in our national colors and come out to play a mass. And you see when morning touch. Grenada's best takes the stage. Sheldon Douglas, Boise, Dash, wind up. We don't want no easy. King, Heine Job and Sosa, Muddy and Squeezed, Looney Spark and Electrify, Zooty Man and more. Get ready, cause a mask go play. We embrace the ice, green and gold. National Colors Fest, 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. General admission 25. Ticket outlets are Gittins, England Dance, Heather Boutique, Chucky's Bar, opposite the terminal, Spice Mobile Qual, Shi's Bar Victoria, Big Lane Bar, Sates, Kwame in River Sally, Daigo Shop Tivoli, Bogoso Barbershop, Kevin and Crush Barbershop Grenville, and St. David's Pharmacy. National Colors Fest, Wednesday, February 6th, Moonlight City.
The pride and joy of a nation is its flag. Its colors and arrangement makes it significant and stunningly beautiful. On Wednesday, February 6th, it's National Colors Day. Every proud Grenadian is asked to deck off in clothing highlighting the colors of our flag. Whether you are dressed for work, daily routines, or casual engagements, showcase the true Grenadian spirit. Every ministry, every department, and all workplaces are encouraged to join in. National Colors Day, Wednesday, February 6, 2019. Endorsed by the National Celebrations Committee. Our people, our colors, our day. On Wednesday, February 6th, National Colors Day.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to National Colors Day. I can imagine what some of the decorations will be, you know, in some of the buildings, and some of the outfit that you guys will be wearing, the customized tees and so on. Listen, that's gonna be good, man. National Colors Day. All right. and let's tell you about the news. Now, there are a few things that we needed to tell you yesterday, but in the interest of time, we were not able to, so we are just going to briefly share that with you before we get into the hardcore news. All right, so the NIS announced this yesterday. The National Insurance Board, the NIB, is pleased to announce the appointment of Mr. Dorset Cromwell and that's to the position of Director NIB, effective 15 January 2019. Now, Mr. Cromwell holds a Master's of Agricultural Science degree from Georgia State University and a bachelor's degree in computer science and mathematics from the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill, Barbados. He has been employed with the NIS since 1994 and held the position of Deputy Director since 2008. Mr. Cromwell is from Fontenoy, St. George, and a past student of the Presentation Brothers College and the Institute for Further Education. All right, so folks, as we get closer to the independence, you know, some of the activities that usually roll out, and we have coming up on the 26th of January, the Independence Calypso competition. Here are your finalists for that competition. Saw Serpent, The Messenger, Gun, Alicia Alexander, Baraka, Superstar, Area Code, Denson, Top Cat, and the Vocalist. We also have the Young Legend, Jaglory, Ken Star, and Wonder Boy. These are going to be your finalists for the event, and the standby is Nabil Abu. All right, and the reigning monarch for that competition is Rootsman Kelly Klein. That's Rootsman Kelly. All right. Oh yeah. They say that the government has identified a new location for the courts. Now, you guys would remember, boy, a lot of bacchanal recently, you know. Well, not really bacchanal, you know. The lawyers and so on, they had their protests and so on because they're saying that, you know, it's high time that the government give priority to the accommodation for the courts. So the Grenada government has identified, they say, a new house to house the country's law offices, or law courts, put it that way. Now, Attorney General Dashawn Ramdani, he announced today that the government has identified the Clico building, and that's the building on Young Street. All right, it will be leased, and that will be the house for 4 of the courts, judges' chambers, and administrative offices. You know, he says that they are working speedily to have the building ready. He says that there are some retrofitting that needs to be done and so on, but they are working towards it. All right. He said that the necessary agreements are being finalized. All right, and soon they will be able to tell when the operations will start there. You know, Mr. Ramdani was for the first time addressing the media as Attorney General. His announcement as Attorney General was made just recently. All right, and he hit the ground running with some good news that at least they have identified a location.
General of Grenada, as you all know, and let me get right to it. There has been this pressing matter relating to the court facilities. I am pleased to be the bearer of good tidings when I say that we are on the cusp of resolving this issue. The government has agreed to lease space, a building in Young Street, that is the Clico building. Those arrangements are being finalized as we speak. But before I get into more details related to that, let me say that, as you all would recall, these events began sometime mid last year. You remember that the court facilities were housed at the Lime building, and because of unavoidable and unforeseen events related to environmental concerns and health concerns, decisions had to be taken to remove the court facilities from that building. In fact, you may not know, I was in court with Mr. Clouden, erstwhile Mr. Clouden, on that day when those concerns were raised before the criminal court. And after considerable deliberations, decisions were taken. Those were sudden and unavoidable. There is an agreement by the government. The government has agreed to secure the facilities at CLICO. Those arrangements have to be finalized. Technical teams have already been visiting from the Ministry of Works that building to make assessments, because there will be some retrofitting to be done. We expect that there will be 4 courts housed in that building, 2 civil courts and 2 criminal courts, of course with the judges' chambers and the other administrative things in place.
All right, thank you very much. So he's saying that, you know what, they are working speedily to have that done, all right? And folks, we also heard from the Grenada Bar Association today. You know, once the government would have made the announcement, once the government made its announcement, we heard from the Grenada Bar Association. It says that the Grenada Bar Association has taken note of today's press response of government's securing of the CLICO building on Young Street, St. George's, as a temporary court facility. It says that the bar has been and continues to be an integral part of the ongoing process between the government of Grenada and CLICO to secure a lease agreement for the purpose. Now, the bar looks forward to the successful conclusion of that process, as well as the speedy and proper execution of repairs and outfitting works, which will be necessary before the High Courts may commence operations. It says, having regard to the recent debacle when similar pronouncements were made about another location with a disappointing outcome, the bar urges prudence as lease agreements have not yet been concluded and signed. Once this occurs, the bar will continue to play an active and responsible supporting role to ensure that the building is commissioned for use in the shortest possible time. The bar cautions that while this may represent an important development, it is by no means a final solution. The association will therefore continue its advocacy role concerning the other elements of the judicial system, which still cry out for urgent action, as we look forward to the realization of a permanent Hall of Justice for the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. And that's a press release coming from the Grenada Bar Association. Folks, today, as things hits up relating to the work to rule and all that, we heard from the Technical and Allied Workers Union. And you know that Andre Lewis is head of that. And it says, as leader of the unions and staff association, the U&SA negotiating team, I call upon Grenada, the Grenada government, to show leadership, understanding, and compassion by taking the necessary steps to bring an immediate end to the work to rule actions engaged by the Grenada Union of Teachers, the GUT. What is this step? Immediately, it says, restore the salaries that were maliciously deducted from the teachers and other public officers as a result of the struggle for pension and gratuity. In a total display of arrogance, says this release, and abuse of power, the government maliciously and insensitively docked the workers' pay, hoping that it will cripple the resolve of workers' fight. But it says that what the government failed to properly consider is that when you throw a pebble in a pond, you do not have control over the ripples. Tell it be. Now the government must be held responsible now that the ripple effects have started to be felt with the cancellation of several school sporting and extracurricular activities. We come into that. We come into that part in a moment. There we go. the government said, no work, no pay, which have provoked the response, no pay, no work. And it goes on and on and on. It says that I am certain that the work to rule action of the GUT is not a decision that was taken lightly. After all, the teachers of our nation have always demonstrated without fail that they are an integral part of the lives of our nation's children. Teachers have always demonstrated their love and care for the all-round development of our children. Teachers have always demonstrated love and care. They say always. And that they have always gone beyond the call of duty without getting or looking for any monetary rewards. And it goes on and it says a lot. All right, and we will have that ready for our website at the end of the program. It concludes by saying, I call upon the government of Grenada to end the work to rule action of the Grenada Union of Teachers. This can be easily done by government immediately returning the salaries that were deducted. The ball is in government's court. We are moving on. Rape continues to be a concern in Grenada. Now already in 2019, several cases of rape. People are not even making it up. Cases of men being charged for having sexual intercourse with young girls under the age of 16, under the legal age of consent. A Montfendu man, St. Patrick, charged for the offense of sexual intercourse with a minor, Gentle Williams, 61 years old. 61. Charged on Saturday gone. Placed on $20,000 bail with 2 sureties to return to court February 20th. Carl Williams, 20 years, farmer of Sab, St. Andrew, arrested and charged for allegedly having sexual intercourse with a minor. Placed on $20,000 bail, 1 surety. Going to go back to court January 29th. These are only the recent cases. You want me to go back from January? From the 1st of January? Listen, it ain't even funny. You know? Now some people believe that you can have sex with 15-year-olds if they agree to it and be let off the hook. In other words, having sex with an underage girl, once she gives you permission, is okay. I hear the boys talking about it. I ain't making it up. So to set that straight, because you know, we have to set it straight. We spoke to the attorney about that to explain it to us. Can somebody under the age of consent give consent? If a man has sex with a 15-year-old who says, here I am, have sex with me, does that mean that he's off the hook and he can walk freely? The attorney says that it has been it's a concern.
You find several charges now involving minors, even elderly persons and minors, young persons and minors. And some are under the mistaken notion that once somebody consents irrespective of age, then that's the go ahead. But we have to bear in mind that the law does not allow consent, does not recognize consent if a person is under 16 years of age. So even if that person initiated the process, even if that person was the aggressor, even if that person gave full consent, then that is not consent recognized by the law, and therefore you can be charged with unlawful sexual intercourse, which again with a minor, which carries very heavy sentences. And people have to bear in mind too that the law was amended in September 2012, and most offenses for rape and other sexual offenses, the penalties were doubled. So many people operate under the mistaken notion that once I get the consent, irrespective of where it comes from, they go ahead. But you can find yourself in serious trouble with the law if you are not aware of these facts, or you are aware of it and simply ignore it to your detriment.
Ignore it to your detriment. All right? So all you can't say, all you don't know, because everybody watch Mikey Live, so no, I'm telling all you. I met some children the other day, and they say, oh, I know you using man want to talk about the rape and thing. You know, I felt good. You know why? Because they will talk about it until my teeth fall out. Because it's too many. It just, listen, when I saw the list of cases for 2019 already, oh gosh, it make you want to vomit, to throw up. It's crazy. The Grenada government announced today that it is making plans to host the Grenada Secondary School Games in March this year to ensure that students are not deprived of an opportunity to showcase their talent. Government's decision is in response to the cancellation of the Intercol Games by the Grenada Association of Principals of Secondary Schools. Now, making the announcement at this week's cabinet post-cabinet briefing was the Minister for Education, Honorable Emmeline Pear. She said that the staging of the National School Games should not be dependent on the industrial climate. She says, quote, and I'm reading from a press release here, government does not have full control over the industrial climate in the country. However, we will take every precaution to ensure that students have the opportunity to participate in sporting activities regardless of the industrial climate in the country. Today, the Minister for Education, Emmeline Pear, announced that the government will go ahead and host a secondary schools meet to replace the now cancelled Intercol Games. Understand? He said, listen, this is something that we have to do. There are a lot of scouts that usually come to Grenada to check out the players, and so we cannot rob the students of this opportunity. Here's the minister speaking exactly about this today.
Let me say this, that I do understand the document in front of me to say that as a result of the current impasse between the government and the GUT, the Principal Association is taking a decision to cancel Intercol 2019. The content of the letter also says to me that there is a possibility that there could be Intercol in 2020, but we can't be certain of that. Reason being, my interpretation is that the current industrial impasse being the reason, I do not believe that as government, I don't believe as individuals, we can sit here in 2019 and assume what the industrial climate is going to be in 2020, 2025, 2030, or any time beyond. As a result, because of the importance of these games, because as a government we don't believe that having a national school game should be dependent on the industrial climate of the country at any time, government has taken a decision that in March 2019 there will be a Grenada Secondary School Games. This decision is respecting the decision of the Grenada Principal Association, respecting that as a private company or private business, Intercol will not happen this year. But we do not believe that as responsible citizens, we do not believe as a responsible government that the children of our nation should be held hostage in this regard, should pay the price for whatever is happening between government and the union.
All right, and you would have heard that she was referring to a document in front of her. She was actually talking about a letter that was sent to her by the Principal Association, all right, informing her of the cancellation of the game. Now, she said that given that documents have been filed in the court by the unions, it came as a surprise to her that the unions are still going ahead and somewhat affecting the work to.
As a matter of fact, the key issue which has been advanced as the reason of or issue of concern, which is that of the deduction of pay for days that teachers did not work during the industrial impasse. We have been alerted by the union that this matter is going to court. As a matter of fact, official documents were submitted in that regard. As a result, we were of the expectation, and this is why this has come to us as a shock, we were of the expectation that if you are taking the matter to court, that the court should now decide on the outcome of this particular matter, and that we would have expected that things would return to normalcy. That being the case, as outlined in the letter, we can't sit back as a government and deny our students such an important opportunity. And on that note, I want to take this opportunity to extend sincerest gratitude to the Principal Association for the work they've done over the years.
Thank you very much. And folks, now on the other side of things now, the president of the GUT, Lydan Lewis, is demanding that the monies deducted from the pay of the teachers in December be returned to the teachers. And failing to do so will result in a work to rule going on for another year. He says, give us back our money. That's what needs to happen. Just give them people back the money they're saying. And failing to do so will be problems. I don't know.
We of the GUT are convinced that the docking of our salaries were illegal acts committed against the many teachers of this country. And so we have made it clear to government that until and unless the salaries are returned, we would continue with the work to rule for another year. And therefore, that would put other activities that teachers usually handle beyond their normal call of duty under threat.
And as well, we had the Lydan Lewis saying that if the government can find money suddenly to host its own games, again, we're talking about the Grenada secondary school games in which the minister announced today, then it is their hope that the government, the ministry, can in the coming years provide support to the same athletes to get the necessary implements that they need, like clothing and things. See the government getting money all of a sudden. All along, we have been working with the schools, with the students, making things happen. Without that sort of input from the government, he's saying, well, if that's the case, then we will expect that you step up to the plate in the coming years.
It is our understanding that there is an attempt to circumvent both the intercall games and the national primary school games by staging another form of games. We also understand that our members may be or will be pressured to accompany students to these games. We have no confirmation of this, but this is what we have learned. Any attempt to force our members into any situation that is not in keeping with our resolutions as a union, we would determine the necessary course of action. It is important to note that for many years we've had no support for the National Primary School Games from the Ministry of Education. However, it is possible that the ministry can find maybe $100,000 to possibly have their own games. When we would have run these games as a union by ourselves with the kind sponsorship of the Grenada Cooperative Bank and use teachers' money to buy medals, trophies, prizes, uniforms, spikes, and others without any assistance from the Ministry of Sports. We are hoping that if there is all these monies available suddenly, that some of these monies would actually go to schools in the coming year and years to assist these poor athletes in securing implements and clothing, including spikes, to participate in future games that are organized, whether it by the secondary schools, principal association, or by the union. We'd greatly appreciate any support that we can get from the ministry going forward. And so that would alleviate the stress and the pressure put on schools and teachers to find the necessary resources to buy everything sport-wise for these athletes that take part in the sporting events.
Thank you very much, sir. And that's President of the GUT, Lydon Lewis. Thing getting heated, thing getting hot. Ain't stopping. You know what I mean? Ain't stopping. Yes, we are moving on. Yeah, they say pressure does bust pipe. You know what I mean? Man charged with rape of wife. We just keep our promise on the program. We're keeping our promise. You know, if we say we're doing something, we're doing it. And so last night we told you of a 26-year-old fisherman of Corinth in St. David who was remanded to Her Majesty's prisons after appearing at the St. George's Magistrates Court on Monday, 21st January 2019, charged with the offense of rape. Now it is alleged that he have committed the offense against his wife between January 18th and 19th, 2019. We also told you that he was going to reappear to court January 31st. This has since sparked reactions once we talked about it from the general public. How it is, a man can be charged for raping his wife. I mean, it's needless to say that it was once in law that by virtue of marriage, you have irrevocably given consent to your partner. Sexual consent, that is, to your partner. Now, for those of you who don't know, that law has since changed. And now, it is very possible for you to rape your wife. We spoke to, in an exclusive interview, Attorney Ruggles Ferguson on that matter.
Yes, it is possible for a husband to be charged with the rape of a wife because the law has changed. Prior to September 2012, that was not possible because we operated under what we call the old common law position in the United Kingdom. We had a criminal code. We have a criminal code that defines most of the criminal offenses. And the common law, what we call the law of England at the time, that was codified in our criminal code. So you had all the criminal offenses spelled out. And under our criminal code prior to September 2012, a husband could not rape a wife. And the philosophy behind it is that marriage, with marriage, came irrevocable consent to sexual activity. And what irrevocable means there is that that consent could not be withdrawn during marriage. But as of September 2012, the criminal code was amended, and now a husband can be charged with rape. So if a wife does not consent to sexual intercourse, and that sexual intercourse is forced upon her, then you can have a rape charge arising from that. Yes.
And he spoke about the difference, because I know that now the question will be asked, what are the differences in terms of sentencing and penalties when a husband rapes his wife versus a regular scenario of rape?
The only distinction between a regular ordinary rape and a husband being found guilty of rape is that the sentence provided for under the criminal code now is 14 years, the maximum sentence for a husband who is found guilty, while for another person it's up to 30 years maximum. And so it's important to understand the fine distinctions when it comes to sex and sexual intercourse, because rape is essentially sexual intercourse without consent. Once there is consent, then there is no rape. And that consent now has to be given by a wife, and it's important that spouses understand that. And secondly, there is also initial consent and the withdrawal of consent. So you started off with consent, but at some point someone says, stop. Then if you proceed against the will of that person, you cannot rely on the initial consent. Once that consent is terminated and you proceed, then you are liable to be charged with the offense of rape. So it's important to know that, because many husbands operate under the mistaken notion that marriage indeed has created that permanent consent until divorce. The only
Whoa. Y'all I don't know the law, you know, because what I'm saying is 1 minute you could be a loving husband with hopes and dreams, and the next minute you could lock up in jail, you know. But no, on a serious note, no, I agree. If she says no, oh, but I'm tight, boy. So hold on, partner, hold on, Rogers, take your time with me. So, in a scenario where you are married, for better or for worse, you marry into a relationship thinking, okay, this is the one woman that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, the one man that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, and there is an expectation. There is an expectation that things are going to be X and Y, I mean, by virtue of marriage, right? So then, what happens when you just get married, and then husband decide, you know what, I have a way I want her now, no more sex for she. And then he goes around and plays the fool, but she doesn't know that. So he starves her from the business, or the other way around. So what you're saying is, the law provides for a marriage to persist. No, let me be even. No is no. No, seriously. Let's not joke about it. But no is no. All right. If you man say no is no. So my next question is, Ruggles, what happens at 3 a.m.? Hold on, follow me, eh? What happens at 3 a.m., Ruggles, when wife is sleeping and you wake up little bit and you can't go back and sleep, and you decide, you know what, let me be innovative, let me be different, and you decide to wake up wife in a kind of certain way, but she's sleeping. You can ask, babes. So what going on now, Rog, is when you assume authority, you know what I mean, XYZ, and you decide you're going to wake wifey without shaking her. You know what I mean, Roggers? So what I'm saying, Roggers, is that kind of business fellas, what I'm saying is be guided accordingly. You know, bid. Let the wife write a note, you know, bid, before she sleep. You know, bid, that it is okay for you to wake me up without shaking me. So unless she sign pattern and put a date, because you might end up in problem. You know what I mean? Because yo, that business is for real enough, partner. I ain't even making it up. You know what I mean? So you decide to wake up wifey without shaking her. And then when wifey wake up, she say, oh, right, I catch him. You know what I mean? Partner, your goose cook. Your cocoa ripe. You know what I mean? I just saying. But no is no. The woman say no is no, partners. If the husband say no, is no. If you don't like it, divorce. Next story now, how we looking for time. I never hear that yet. New accommodation in Carriacou. You know what I mean? Partner, shape the woman and make sure she wake. Right, new accommodation in Carriacou. All right, so they say that they open up a nice like a restaurant kind of thingy. Right? Well, not really, well, a hotel actually. All right. In the interest of time, I would not be able to go through that entire thing for you. But there's new accommodation for people in Carriacou for now. Okay. Also, we needed to tell you about Chris Brown. You know, this morning you would have woke up to the news that Chris Brown was arrested. He and one of his security guards. Yes, he was arrested. And listen, it was a dread story. You say all kind of allegations, you know, rape allegations against Chris Brown in France, in Paris. All right, but we have an update for you. Chris Brown has been released from police custody and he won't face any charges at this time. Understand? Brown and two others who were not identified were arrested on Tuesday in Paris on allegations of aggravated rape and drug violations. I'm telling you, no charges have been filed against any of them, the prosecutor's office said, but the investigations are ongoing. So earlier, he said, I want to make it perfectly clear, because he put it out, you know, I want to make it perfectly clear. This is false and a whole lot of cap. You see, for my daughter and my family, this is so disrespectful and it's against my character and morals. All right, so we have to leave that story there alone, because in the interest of time, again, we have to leave it alone. Leave and let leave. Chris Brown, so you live to fight another day. All right, folks, permit me to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have for you the national report. So all stay in a man, stay in a man.
It's a new year, so how about a new look? At Quartz Optical, we have the latest brand names and styles. Plus, get 20% off credit on 12 to 24 months. Instant credit approval while you are being tested. Get 15% off cash, so you can get that new frame to go into the new year. Only at Quartz Optical, the largest, fastest growing optical chain in the Caribbean. Special conditions apply.
We mean business and we talk business.
I wanted to go back to when it started.
And we let women in business tell their own stories and inspire others.
But I'm very excited about 2019.
I am Abigail Long, and join me right here for Abby's Power Lunch.
You never looked at a piece of paper. This was just a beautiful conversation.
We talk to women of the Caribbean who make things happen.
I know, let's not just preach it, let's practice it, and it starts from household.
The pride and joy of a nation is its flag. Its colors and arrangement makes it significant and stunningly beautiful. On Wednesday, February 6th, it's National Colors Day. Every proud Grenadian is asked to deck off in clothing highlighting the colors of our flag. Whether you are dressed for work, daily routines, or casual engagements, showcase the true Grenadian spirit. Every ministry, every department, and all workplaces are encouraged to join in. National Colors Day, Wednesday, February 6, 2019. Endorsed by the National Celebrations Committee. Our people, our colors, our day. On Wednesday, February 6, National Colors Day.
Alrighty, folks, and don't forget the Agricultural Network. Alright, guys, you can go check it out, the Agricultural Network, online, and you can network with other persons in the agricultural field. You can get to list your items, discover other items in the market, and so it's really interesting. Check it out, the Agricultural Network. All right, it's Grenadian, of course, and it's a really good website for you. We've got right now the National Report.
A new home is identified to house Grenada's law courts. Details to this story and more coming up in the National Report. Welcome back with the details to the news for today, Tuesday, January 22nd. I am Wendy Edmond. The Grenada government has identified a new home to house the country's law courts. Attorney General Dashan Ramdani announced Tuesday during the government's weekly post-cabinet briefing that the Clico building on Yonge Street will be leased to house 4 courts and judges' chambers and administrative offices. Adequate facilities for the country's courts have been an issue for several months, and government has explored several options to resolve the matter. The Attorney General says that the lease arrangements are currently being finalized and the building retrofitted to accommodate the courts.
I am pleased to be the bearer of good tidings when I say that we are on the cusp of resolving this issue. The government has agreed to lease space, a building in Yonge Street, that is the Clico building. Those arrangements are being finalized as we speak.
Mr. Ramdani says government has been working consistently for months to find a new home for the law courts since it was moved from the old Lime building on the Carnage due to health and environmental concerns.
For a brief period last year, there was the use of the Kaipo building to house one of the civil courts and the Court of Appeal. All of this meant that the administration had been diverting funds for other important matters into securing new facilities for the court. You may not realize I am in this singular position where I have been on the outside like you, looking on, seeing on the outside the efforts of the administration. I am now placed on the inside. And I, as Attorney General, I intend to be playing an integral technical part in these matters. The Minister of Legal Affairs is very concerned about this, and so is the administration.
2 criminal and 2 civil courts will be housed at the Clico building.
There will be some retrofitting to be done. We expect that there will be 4 courts housed in that building, 2 civil courts and 2 criminal courts, of course with the judges' chambers and the other administrative things in place.
Finding a new home for the courts demonstrates government's commitment to good governance and the administration of justice. And in response to this development, the Grenada Bar Association has issued a statement saying it looks forward to the successful conclusion of the process, as well as the speedy and proper execution of repairs and outfitting works which will be necessary before the High Courts may commence occupation. In this other story, the Grenada government announced Tuesday that it is making plans to host the Grenada Secondary School Games in March this year to ensure that students are not deprived of any opportunity to showcase their talents. Government's decision is in response to the cancellation of the Intercol Games by the Grenada Association of Principals of Secondary Schools. Making the announcement at this week's post-cabinet press briefing, Minister for Education, Honorable Emmeline Pear, said the staging of national games should not be dependent on the industrial climate.
We do not believe that as responsible citizens, we do not believe as a responsible government that the children of our nation should be held hostage in this regard, should pay the price for whatever is happening between government and the union.
Minister Pear says Intercol has been an excellent opportunity for students to showcase their talent at the national level, since scouts from various parts of the world have visited during the games to witness the performance of the students. She added that many of our students have had the opportunity to attend colleges and universities overseas because of their athletic ability.
I am certain that many of these students, if not all of them, may not have had the opportunity if they would have had to compete with all of the other students for scholarship on an academic basis, which means that sports would have been integral to their achievements academically and the opportunities that they have received. To not provide these students with that opportunity, to me, is denying ordinary poor children of our society an opportunity to pull their families out of poverty. It's denying them an opportunity to lift themselves up, and indeed denying them that opportunity to have a chance to succeed in life. As a government, we believe that we do have the means and the structure in place through the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Sports to do this.
Further details of the Grenada Secondary School Games will be disclosed during an upcoming press conference, the date for which will be announced. Notwithstanding the cancellation of Intercol 2019, Minister Pear congratulated the Principals Association for its excellent work over the years to ensure the growth and development of the annual games. More efforts are being pursued to strengthen Grenada's education system. Minister for Education and Human Resource Development, Honorable Emmeline Pear, says an Education Advisory Council and Review Committee are being established. Details from Annette Moore.
The Government of Grenada, the Cabinet, would have approved last week Monday and confirmed yesterday the establishment of an advisory council and an education review committee. Those two, which according to Section 9 and 178 respectively of the Education Act, should have been in place. As a matter of fact, the review board should have been over the years reviewing our education system, should have been reporting to the Minister for Education in the form of a report. That report should have been tabled by the Minister of Education in Parliament and published publicly. So we are now moving to do so, and Cabinet would have approved Mr. Michael Pear as the chairman of that committee.
The Education Act number 21 of 2002, Section 178(1), provides for Cabinet, on the recommendation of the Minister for Education, to appoint an 8-member Education Review Committee every 5 years, whose main task will be to review and report on the education system in Grenada. The Education Review Committee consists of the chairperson, a person who has knowledge or expertise in education, a member from the National Parent-Teacher Association, 1 member from a board of management, a member from each organization concerned with community development, industry and commerce, and professional services, 1 member from the Grenada Union of Teachers, and another appointed by the Minister on the advice of Cabinet. According to Section 179 of the Education Act, the Education Review Committee must review and report on the physical condition and maintenance of all educational institutions in Grenada, the suitability of the curriculum, the performance of students in specified assessments, annual examinations set and marked by individual schools, and examinations set by the Caribbean Examinations Council, the organization of the ministry and its delivery of education services, the teaching service, and the number, quality, and performance of teachers and other matters pertaining to the enhancement of education in Grenada. With regards to the Advisory Council, according to Section 9 of the Education Act, the Council must be comprised of the principal of the T.A. Marisho Community College or a representative, a resident tutor of the University of the West Indies, 2 members nominated by the Grenada Union of Teachers, 2 by the Central Board of Management, and 2 by the business and professional community, 1 member nominated by the Early Education Council, 1 by the National Parent-Teacher Association, 1 by the National Students' Council, and another by Special Education. Additionally, 2 members must be appointed by the Minister for Education. The Advisory Council must advise the Minister on matters for which the Minister is responsible under the Education Act, and their duties include advising the Minister of the making of regulations on the training of teachers, the choice of textbooks, curricula, and more. For the National Report, I'm Annette Moore.
This is the National Report. More news when we return.
We are back with you to continue the work. We need you to improve our Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique on the road to national sustainable development. We're back.
So how can we invest more in the sporting arena to bridge that gap for a lot of young people?
I think there should be more forums like this.
We need to find a way in which to combat that now.
Join us for the next National Sustainable Development Plan 2035 Contributors Forum at the Grenada Boys Secondary School, January 24th, 7 p.m.
Welcome back with the National Report. The Ministry of Education has a new Chief Education Officer. He is Mr. David Andrew, who has been an educator for more than 20 years. Mr. Andrew, who was most recently employed as a school counselor with the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Development, and Religious Affairs, assumed his new duties on Tuesday, January 22nd. We get more details from Annette Moore.
As of yesterday, the Public Service Commission has appointed Mr. David Andrew to the position of Chief Education Officer within the Ministry of Education. As we speak, I believe Mr. Andrew is being officially introduced to the staff at the ministry. Mr. Andrew would have worked in the Ministry of Education for the past couple of years, and previous to that would have been attached to one of our secondary schools.
David Andrew has been an educator for the past 25 years. He has served at some of Grenada's secondary schools and other learning institutions, including being a teacher at the Grenville Secondary School in St. Andrew for 10 years. Andrew is a trained counseling therapist, having studied at the Caribbean Nazarene College in Trinidad and Tobago. He holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in General Studies with a concentration in psychology and also a master's degree in counseling. In 2017, Andrew was awarded the Clinical Network Conference Scholastic Achievement Award, which is presented to an alumni or student of the Caribbean Nazarene College who has advanced the caring profession by outstanding clinical or community service and made a noticeable difference in the quality of life for many people. Andrew most recently served as a school counselor in District 4 with the Student Support Services Unit of the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Development and Religious Affairs. He was based at the St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary School with responsibility for providing clinical supervision to the counselling assistants and guidance officers in the St. David District and some in the St. Andrew District. Additionally, Andrew served as the team leader for the UNICEF-funded project Child Friendly Schools. Andrew has previously worked with the government of Trinidad and Tobago as a guidance counselor to schools with the Youth Correctional Facility and as a psychologist with one of the leading employee assistance program providers, Elder Associates Limited. For the National Report, I'm Annette Moore.
And that was the National Report for today, Tuesday, January 22nd, 2019. On behalf of all of us in the newsroom, I am Wendy Edmond, thanking you for joining.
Okay, Wendy, thank you very much. And to everybody who were a part of the National Report, we also would like to say thank you to you. And let's see what the weather is going to be like. It's going to feel like humidity 80%, precipitation 24%, and the wind 11 kilometers per hour. And well, tonight's minimum temperature is going to be around 25 degrees Celsius as a low. All right. And that's it for you right there. And folks, we have run out of time, so we cannot really play around for too long. Let's just say quickly hi to some of the people on the program right now before we sign off. Suzette, Kieran, Wayne, Samantha, Melly, Esther, Peter, Deslin, Rita, Irma, Angel, Sharon, Nika, Khadija, Priceless, Alla, Rayburn. We see also Christopher, Shireen, my mom, Lintana, Frontline Barbers, and everyone else who's Emma and Ann Duncan and Angel. All right, Lisa, I see you there as well, and everyone else who's part of the program. We want to say thank you, but I've got to run. We have run out of time. All right, guys, we're going to be back with you tomorrow, God willing, around the same time. And don't forget, you can check out our website for more news. It's MikeyLive.com. That's again MikeyLive.com. All right, guys, and you'll see a lot of stories there. You can also visit the website to check out all past Mikey Live programs. God bless you. Have a good one. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we all say, ja! No! Good night, everyone.